Hi, my name is Paul Sargent, and today we're going to take a look at the thematic learning objectives of the new AP European History curriculum redesign. I want to walk you through these so that you get an idea of how this is going to play into the course and how we need to develop these over the course of the year. And that's, I think, where we need to start, is that the College Board is recognizing here that there are themes that students have to understand that flow throughout history, and that to look at time periods without understanding sort of a larger picture and where everything flows and how things continue and how things change is not really going to be a great view of history. And so by setting up these thematic learning objectives, what they've done is they've said, hey, look, there are certain themes that we want to make sure that students can follow throughout the year. And they've broken them up into 5 separate themes, and each one of those themes is subdivided into a whole bunch of different basic questions. So, theme number 1 is interaction of Europe and the world. In other words, this is all about how Europeans have interacted with peoples from around the world throughout the course of modern European history. They've broken it up into the following 4 main questions. Why have Europeans sought contact and interactions with other parts of the world? What political, technological, and intellectual developments enabled European contact and interaction with other parts of the world? How have encounters between Europe and the world shaped European culture, politics, and society? And finally, what impact has contact with Europe had on non-European societies? This should be a theme that should be developed throughout the year, and so that as we hit these different points, whether it's colonization and exploration, whether it is the Columbian Exchange, the slave trade, whether it's the imperialism of the late 19th century, whether it's decolonization in the 20th century, or hot spots of the Cold War, whatever it may be, we should be helping students understand that there is this constant theme that Europe interacts with the world, and it affects both Europeans and the people that they interact with in a whole bunch of different ways. Theme number 2 is poverty and prosperity. This is basically economic history, as we used to call it. And it's going to take a look at how different economic theories have developed throughout European history, and how things like the Industrial Revolution and whatnot have affected the economic output of Europe. So here are the main questions that the College Board has given us. How has capitalism developed as an economic system? How has the organization of society changed as a result of or in response to the development and spread of capitalism? What were the causes and consequences of economic and social inequality? And finally, how did individuals, groups, and the state respond to economic and social inequality? And so again, over the course of the year, we're going to take a look at these different economic principles and take a look at how they develop, so that students will see that there's a continuity here and that there are changes and there are consequences of these economic conditions, and can evaluate their success or non-success or somewhat success or whatever it is they want to evaluate it with. Theme number 3 is called objective knowledge and subjective visions, and this is really kind of intellectual and cultural history of Europe. It's the study of ideas, of sort of what Europeans see as reality, and how they then respond to that reality, and how their perception of reality changed over time. What roles have traditional sources of authority, church and classical antiquity, played in the creation and transmission of knowledge? How and why did Europeans come to rely on the scientific method and reason in place of traditional authorities? And finally, how and why did Europeans come to value subjective interpretations of reality? Play it out over the course of the year. We're going to start off with a very religious view of the universe, mostly driven by the Catholic Church. That's going to quickly fall apart. Thank you, Martin Luther. And then we're going to, of course, hit the scientific revolution. We're going to hit the study of the irrational in the 20th century, and we're going to come up with sort of the modern mindset of what reality is and what we should do about it. And this, I think, is one thing that I try to emphasize during my course, that Europe is really a place of ideas, and the ideas tend to drive the actions. Next we come to states and other institutions of power. So this theme is all about power. And so it's going to deal with the development of the modern nation state. It's also going to deal with institutions like the church, which have power at different points in time. And it's going to try and get students to understand how power develops and how concepts of power have been used throughout the course of modern European history. I feel like a broken record here. Anyway, here are the questions we've been given by the College Board. What forms have European governments taken, and how have these changed over time? In what ways and why have European governments moved toward or reacted against representative and democratic principles and practices? How did civil institutions develop apart from governments, and what impact have they had on European states? How and why did changes in warfare affect diplomacy, the European state system, and the balance of power? And finally, how did the concept of a balance of power emerge, develop, and eventually become institutionalized? This is the political stuff. This is the stuff that we've all been teaching. This is the stuff that you go through. There really shouldn't be much change. But the thing that we should be understanding, or getting our students to understand, I keep saying that, is that the whole concept of power and where power comes from and how power should work develops. And if they see that and are able to talk about that in a big picture sort of way, then we've done our job. And finally, we have the theme of the individual and society. This is really your social history that we've been teaching in the past, but it's much more explicitly laid out than it has been than it was before the redesign. I mean, honestly, for me, before the redesign, social history was kind of a tough thing to teach because it was phrased in vague centuries with very slowly changing institutions. And I mean, I don't know that my students got it very well in the past. I haven't done a good job of teaching this. But with this new theme of individual and society, I think it's laid out better so that we can more accurately trace this whole development of the individual and society through, guess what? Modern European history. So here are the questions that we've been given. What forms have family, class, and social groups taken in European history, and how have they changed over time? How and why have tensions arisen between the individual and society over the course of European history? And finally, how and why has the status of specific groups within society changed over time? Like I said, it's your social history. It's just laid out for us, which is great because I never really knew what to do with it before this. All right, so here's my take on the course themes. First of all, they codify the changes that we're supposed to have students understand. We've kind of done this throughout in the past when teaching European history, although, again, I think it's not always done as explicitly as we're being asked to do it now. I, for example, have taught things from a very chronological standpoint in the past, and every now and then when it occurs to me, have tried to draw connections with earlier events. But by using these themes, what we can say is, hey, look, we're looking at how this develops with the individual and society. Hey, this is another example of poverty and prosperity. Hey, this is a great example of state and other institutions of power. And if we point those out to students enough, especially if we then say, how would this show a change or a continuation from things that we've seen in this theme so far, not only is that a great discussion point, but it also gets the students to kind of look at the larger, broader themes of history. And if they can do that, then I think they're going to be real successful on the AP exam. So when you combine these themes with the historical thinking skills of like how we have to train their minds to work, and then how we have to develop these themes, you've got yourself a pretty well laid out guideline for the course on a very big picture kind of level. So that's my take on the thematic approach to the curriculum redesign. Hopefully these videos are helping, so click subscribe and subscribe to my YouTube channel. That way, whenever I post a new video, you'll be notified and you can see what's going on. Not only am I posting videos that have to do with this curriculum redesign, but I'm also posting content videos that I'm going to use with my students and you might want to use with yours. They're free, might as well use them. Anyway, that's it for now. My name's Paul Sargent. Thanks for watching and have a great day.